Hello, friends. How are you? How was your weekend? Did you do anything exciting this weekend? Did you read any books this weekend? I did. I read some stuff. Um, but today I want to talk about this book. Well, actually, this book and these books and books in general. Um, these are books. These are kind of written to market thriller mystery books. These two I've talked about on the channel already. These are the first two books I've read from Harlan Coben, The Woods and I Will Find You. Early book of his, later book of his. Like this one way better. And I remarked when I talked about these books that this was the first time I'd read a book where we jumped not only POV, meaning whose character we're following, but we also jumped like from third person to first person. So the main character is written in first person, the rest of the book is written in third person, and it kind of jumps around. And I'd never read a book like that before. It's kind of fascinating. And I thought, as I was having this discussion in my head earlier, I also remember that I was reading this series of supernatural thrillers from Anthony M. Strong, and his series was the first time that I had read a book series where we jumped to like victims' heads quite frequently and right before they die kind of thing, showing kind of that cinematic moment of let's show some horror, so we need somebody to die, we'll jump into their head, we'll get a little story about them. This is kind of the same stuff, right? So then I read Roses Are Red from James Patterson. This is the first Patterson book I've read. Never read his work. Have always been semi-intrigued. And maybe this is the wrong book to start. This is like book 5 or something of the Alex Cross series. I didn't very much like this at all. I thought this was a pretty vapid, nothing happens in this book. It's kind of the weird thing. It's a book where you follow the main character through an adventure, but there's no resolution at all. Like, there really isn't. I'm not just saying that. There's a bit of a resolution to a romance, kind of, sort of. That kind of happens. It's more or less just like, here's a couple of weeks in this person's life. And what I found was that his writing was easy to read. Nothing crazy going on. Both of these guys. Easy to read writing. Decently put together thoughts and plots. But in all of these books, there are definitely moments where you have to just go, whatever. Like, you just have to ignore the fact that the character is doing something way out of whack, or that the world is presumed to work in a way it obviously doesn't. And you just have to accept it as like, well, we needed to move the story along, so we just threw that, whatever. Not a very good book. Didn't like it at all. Do not think I'm going to continue reading Patterson. The funny thing was I went to look at his higher rated books, and this is in the like 4.5. Like it's a very highly well regarded book, and I thought it was pretty bad. I thought the writing in this was fairly amateur, like just not very well done. And that's kind of what I wanted to talk about, is these kinds of books. These books that are made to market, meaning that I don't think that James Patterson wants to write a book about a black male detective in the DC metro area. I don't think that's really his thing. And I don't think that Harlan Coben wants to write a book about a scale. I feel like these books are written to feed the machine. These books are written because these books sell. There's nothing wrong with that. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. I'm not judging them for that. I'm not judging the people who enjoy these books for that. This is just me processing that, like, oh, these books are written as like a soap opera. They're written as a daytime television show, or possibly a primetime television show, or the hope that it could be a primetime television show. They're written to an audience that wants to be entertained and doesn't want to, sit down and really put a lot of effort, right? And I get it. I had fun reading these books. There was definitely fun moments. They're very simple stories, very straightforward reading. This is just enjoyable. Sit down, turn some pages, and have a bit of a romp with a character. and you don't have to keep track of what's going on everywhere all at once. You don't have to keep track of multiple storylines or whatever. Yeah, they're in there, but we'll come back to them and we'll reiterate them, and we're not going to make you remember stuff, because that's not what reading these books are about. These books are about reading for the pleasure of just escaping into a story. And I did that with all three of these. And I think I get it now. I get why these books succeed. I get why, if this is a representation of James Patterson's writing, and the rest of his books are written like this, I get why he succeeds. And it's because it's so easily digestible. It's just a fun romp. Not because he's a literary master. Not because his characters are well thought out, his plots are well documented. Like, no, his characters are pretty flaky, pretty flimsy, I would say. They're barely characters at all. They're caricatures of people that he sees in his life or whatever. And the plots are kind of dumb. Like, if this is a representation of his writing, not really interested. I'm going to find somebody who can do this, but slightly in a slightly elevated way. Like this guy, like this thing, this Woods book in particular. Not this one, but this one. So I'm going to keep searching, because I find myself enjoying this, but not being fulfilled by this. Does that make sense? I can enjoy reading Harlequin romance novels. I have. But I'm not fulfilled by them. I don't feel like, that was a good book I want to talk about. I don't want to talk about these when I'm done. That's the thing. I'll come on here and say this book was not good, didn't enjoy it. That's about it. That's really all I got. Like, nothing happens in this book. There you go, done. Does it advance a character in a series? Yeah, it advances the mega story. But as these books are written, these books are intended to be just picked up and read regardless of order. It doesn't really matter. They're like episodes of TV. You can just digest it as a single episode. I don't think this one works that way. This one is, technically there is a part two to this book, and those two books probably tell the whole story. But I'm not really interested in finding out. Like, But I get it now. So I'm going to keep searching. More authors like these. The only other one that I have experience with is, what's his name? It's something like Corey Kazcheknia or something like that. I read a book that he did of like a special ops guy who runs around and like treasure hunts, and it was a really fun book, and I think I'm going to try to... that was Jonathan Kellerman. That's who I'm thinking of. No, it's not Kellerman. It's Kazcheknia or something like that. I'm going to try to find more of his stuff, because I think it's the same kind of rompy funness, but better written, in my opinion. Got any suggestions? I would love for your suggestions on mass market, written to market books that are just fun romps. Let me know. Thank you for watching this video. If you liked it, please give it a thumbs up. If you're not subscribed, please do so. We might hit 25,000 again. Do we get to celebrate 25,000 for hitting it twice? Tell me downstairs, down below. Thank you. I'll see you tomorrow. Today's 1,000 plus little things happy, successful people do differently. We are learning 16 harsh truths that make us stronger. Number 2, you will fail sometimes. The faster you accept this, the faster you can get on with moving forward. So don't let failure get to your heart or success get to your head. Do your best and let your consistent daily actions speak for themselves over the long term. Failure is always an option, and it's a necessary option. I would say shoot to fail more often than you shoot to succeed, because you're going to learn more from the failing.